Originally, this infrastructure bill, reconciliation bill, whatever they're calling it this week, the Democrats were shooting for, I think it was $3.8 trillion or 3.9. Now, they already passed earlier this year a $3.7 trillion bill. This one, because the administration has been an utter disaster, it's like ballast off a sinking ship. They just kept dumping things off this bill, and it kept getting smaller and smaller until they finally passed it. It's a way for them to steal wealth from you without you even realizing they've done it. The reason everything at the store and the gas pump and your energy bill and everything is getting more expensive, it hasn't actually gotten more expensive. Your money has just gotten less valuable. Your money has less purchasing power because every time they pass one of these bills, they print the money to pay for it. They throw around trillion like it's nothing. I want to give you a way of picturing it. There is something, there is a currency, there is a form of capital that we all deal in every day of our lives that is more precious to us than any money. It's more precious to us than any physical possession of any kind, and that's time. Time is your most precious commodity. Time is a commodity, it is a form of capital that we all have a finite portion of. None of us knows how much we have, and you have to spend it at a constant, unbroken, continuous rate day after day after day. And so we all feel the keen sting of spending our time. So to give you an idea of how much money they just spent, let's put it in terms of seconds. Let's say we had 1.75 million seconds from right now, which as I record this, it is 8 p.m., November 8th, 2021. If we went back in time 1,750,000 seconds, it would be 2 p.m. October 19th, 20.25 days ago. That's 1.75 million seconds in the past. So what about 1.75 billion? Okay, well that's going back a little further. If we went back in time 1.75 billion seconds, it would be April 20th of 1965. We hadn't even landed on the moon yet. 55 and a half years ago. That's 1.75 billion seconds. So, now, to bring this full circle, the trifecta, if we went back in time 1.75 trillion seconds, 1 second for every dollar the Democrats, with the help of 13 Republicans, just spent of your money, if we went back in time 1.75 trillion seconds, it would be early spring in the year 53,479 BC. 55 and a half millennia ago. We hadn't even invented the wheel or learned to create or harness fire yet. That's how big trillions are. These Democrats talk about it like it's nothing because they're not playing with their own money. They're playing with yours. And let me tell you something. You don't have it. We don't have it. We don't have the 1.75 trillion they just spent. We don't have the 3.7 trillion they spent earlier this year. We don't have the 28 trillion they owe overall. So how do they do this? They do it by roping your grandchildren's great-great-grandchildren into perpetual debt slavery. And it's all a fraud. You don't owe anybody anything. That's the first thing you need to understand about this. This whole thing is a scam from top to bottom, front to back, soup to nuts. Fractional reserve central banking is a scam. They have arranged the zeitgeist of world trade such that your very life, your time, they've made your time their property. Do you understand why property is a human right? Because you might understand why self-defense is a human right, why speech is a human right. I have the right to think what I think, and I have the right to express what I think, and I have the right to defend my life. So why do I have the right to own property? Why is that a human right? Because property is the product of your time. Property is what you invested your time, your energy, your talents, your skills, and what you invested those things in creating, you are entitled to control. Your property is you. Your property is the time that you've already spent. It is what you have to show for the time you've spent, for what you did with it. Real wealth is nothing more than an objective measure of how many voluntary relationships and voluntary associations you've engaged in. Your property is your past made manifest in some form, either physical, intellectual, or equitable. But if you can appreciate that, then you can understand why property is a human right, and why just because some assholes in Congress in 1913 passed the Federal Reserve Act did not ever entitle them to be able to just claim that all of your property and any trade and voluntary interactions that you engaged in with that property was then chaining you to debt to a private bank that had exclusive privilege to government-backed aggression. They never had the right, they never had the proper authority to establish this. The Federal Reserve Act, and indeed the Federal Reserve, is null and void because the government does not have the right to do that. No one does. The dollar is going down. That's inevitable. These people in our government are going down. That's inevitable. The trick is, how do we not go down with them? That's what we need to be thinking about.